This is Billy Staples doing a segment of Before the Glory, and I have two former big league pitchers in front of me. The key I wanted to find out is what parts of the country did you guys grow up in? So I'll start with you, Johnny. Jon Warden, obviously, we'll get to it later. The claim to fame is this: if you're going to be in the big leagues one year, John,
pick a pennant winner.
1968 Tigers. But where did it start? Where is home for you?
Harrisburg, Ohio. There's about 400 people.
Okay.
It's south of Columbus. I was born in Columbus.
All right.
And we didn't have enough hot water and sheets to have me delivered at the farmhouse. So they rushed me in on a horse and buggy to the hospital. And yeah, I grew up on a farm, and 150-acre farm, and it was outside of town. And like I said, about 400 people in the town, one traffic light. Wow. And you know, we played. It's almost like Field of Dreams. We had a farmer that gave up a corner of his cornfield,
right?
So we could have a little league team in Harrisburg, Ohio.
Really? Yeah,
and he cut that little farm out. He cut this diamond out, and if you hit it in the corn, it was a home run. And I started playing at about 8 years old, 8, 9, 10.
Was there an older brother, or was it just because of the neighborhood and the kids were playing ball?
Just the kids my age, and maybe you're younger, you're older. There was about 10, 12 of us that all loved to play, and you know, my nearest neighbor was about like a mile away, but he was my age. We were in the same class, and I had an older sister. And you know, I tell kids when I talk a lot of times, my dad left home when I was 3.
3 years old?
Yeah, I never played pitch and catch with my dad. You know, so some kids go, well, you know, I could have made it. I didn't have any, you know, training, or my dad was gone. I say, hey man, I don't want to hear about it. Don't use that for an excuse.
So that we had $1 for everybody that said they could have made it, should have made it.
Oh man, no kidding, Larry. I'll be back on the roulette wheel in there.
To follow it up before I switch over to Larry, if you're growing up on this farm and Dad's gone, who's in the house? Because that's
my mom's sister and I.
Really?
Yeah, we had livestock. We had chickens. We had sheep. We had pigs, and they had milk cows. We had milk cows. And when my dad left, my mom told me they had to sell the milk cows, and my grandfather owned the dairy. And so, but we had nobody, because you got to milk them babies every day, same time in the morning, same time in the evening.
Sure.
There's no vacations. There's no like, well, we'll get them tomorrow. And so they got rid of the milk cows. My grandfather then bought his milk from one of the neighboring farmers to keep his milk business running. So yeah, it was my mom and I. My sister was 6, and then as the older I got, then I started carrying the pails of water out to the chickens in the winter and gathering eggs and slopping the hogs, and that's the way I grew up.
Larry, to switch over to you, also spending time in the big leagues as a pitcher. So we got 9 positions, but we got 2 guys that played the same position. One thing I have to say is when I came into spending time in the locker room, that was in 73, 74, and then a lot more through the rest of the 70s. But talk about a guy that acted like he didn't have a care in the world. So easygoing. I'm not kidding you.
I should have been a left-handed pitcher.
Yeah.
I should have been.
You think left-handed?
But
see, I grew up in Detroit.
Okay.
And Jon Warden was one of my idols back at that time. That '68 Tiger team.
Boy, that was a good team.
Oh man, that was a great team. And I grew up in the Detroit area, like I said. So the '68 team really was special. Very special year.
So when you say Detroit, for the first interview on the Detroit city area, we did in book number 1, Before the Glory, and Ron LaFleur spoke specifically about streets, sections, Detroit, what it was like. The '68 team literally brought peace.
It really did
to the city.
Helped solve the riots.
It did.
Where were you in this city? Because Detroit is
about 20 miles outside, a little town called Mount Clemens.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the '68 team they were it, man. They were hot stuff.
Yeah, it was.
K-Line was always my idol.
Oh man, me too.
Nice guy too.
I mean, to get to watch him play every day.
Yeah.
My golly, what a treat that was.
But classy gentleman. It turns out he was a friend of my ex-father-in-law, and so I'm standing at the batting cage in Milwaukee, and I feel this tap on my shoulder, and I turn around, and he says, "Hi, Larry, I'm Al K-Line. I'm a friend of your father-in-law." I said, one of the few times in my life I was speechless.
Yeah, he caught you off guard.
Well, K-Line, we hear about the 1950s and this thing, bonus babies. Sandy Koufax, it took time for that bonus baby to actually come to fruition. Harmon Killebrew, it took time.
Yeah.
Not with K-Line.
No.
Yeah.
He was, what, 18 when he made the big
18,
leagues?
right to the big. Never played a day in the minors.
And then wins the batting crown.
Yeah.
340.
Yeah.
Youngest ever still.
Yes. So
how many years did you play in the minor leagues?
2 years A-ball.
I signed on June 6th of '76,
Right.
On June 7th of '77, I was in the big leagues.
A year later.
Really?
Yeah.
Pretty sweet.
Well,
But I went to college for 3 years.
Okay,
so-
well then.
I want to get to that. Growing up outside of Detroit, how many kids are in the family? So
Two.
It's you and
Sister.
Older,
Sister,
younger?
2 years older than me.
she's 2 years older. So where, just like I asked with John, where did the game get picked up? The neighborhood, what was it like, and why did you begin throwing or enjoying the game?
We used to go, in the summertime, we'd go over to we had Little League fields that were close by, and we'd take a lunch, and we'd spend the whole day. Just, right field was out, right?
Yeah.
Because you didn't have enough guys.
Had the pole ball, get to
Yeah.
the left side second base.
That's right. And we'd just go out in the morning, and we'd stay all day. And then I'd go home and put on a little uniform and go bat boy for the Little League team, and then go over across the street to the softball team and bat boy for them. Just
It was in
had to
your
be
blood
around
as a
it.
kid.
Yeah, had to be around it.
When it got to be 7th, 8th, 9th grade, the words middle school now, although it wasn't invented back then, and then the beginning of high school, what was mom and dad doing to pay the bills? What kind of jobs or, in that area? What was the situation?
They
like?
worked for Ford Motor.
Really?
The vinyl plant over on Grossbeck out there. And my mom was a secretary, and my dad worked out the plant, production control.
No kidding.
And it was right, and then I actually was the bat boy for the Ford Motor Company softball team that played.
How
So,
about-
yeah.
Since you're close by the city there, was there another player during your time, a little bit before, during, or after? Was there another guy that came out of your area that also played ball?
Yeah, and I went to the University of Michigan, so I had some teammates from there. Remember Ricky Leach?
Oh,
Wait,
sure,
wait,
outfielder.
wait a minute.
What?
I went to Ohio State.
So we're gonna tangle.
Did you have, was it freshman year, you were already above and beyond the kids, or when did it appear that you actually knew, besides coaches or fans, when did you know that you were above or your arm was better than the rest of the kids?
When I was 8 years old, I was bat boying for the Little League team, and you couldn't play till you were 10, and I was better than anybody in the league and couldn't play because I wasn't old enough. So I'd bat boy for them, and then, like I said, go across the street and bat boy for the softball team.
So when you were in high school, what I'm getting to is a lot of kids everywhere in the country get these letters, get this attention. So I'm gonna try to put a twist on this. By your junior year, were you desired by a lot of colleges?
Not a lot, half dozen maybe.
Okay.
I'm not sure that my Michigan coach even saw me pitch. He just went on the basis of what scouts said and
Okay.
got a recommendation.
Now, when it came to your senior year, a lot of times you're looking at letters or this school, that school. You're getting attention because you're playing ball and you're doing well. Did you have to decide and break it down to 2 or 3 schools? How did you end up picking the school?
I actually wanted to go to Michigan State, and I went up there, and the guy said he would let me be a preferred walk-on. And I said, okay. And then Michigan came and saw me play, and they offered me 3/4 of a scholarship. Seemed like an easy choice to make.
That's easy, man. They made the choice for you.
I switched the same question to you, John. When, like freshman year in high school, I lived it. I mean, the game itself just was an escape from whatever was going on at my house. And I was hell-bent and determined to make the team. And then I could see by being in major league locker rooms, I could assess high school talent, so I could see who the best 1 or 2 guys
Yeah.
were. No problem. Where were you in 9th and 10th grade with ability?
Well, in the 9th grade, because I went to, my grade school was 1 through 8.
Okay.
An old farm school, everybody, we're all in the same building.
Right.
And so, I played Little League, like Larry couldn't play till he was 10, but we just sort of, at 8 and 9, I played on a team in Columbus, because we didn't have a team yet till that guy gave us, like when I was 10, 11, then he gave us that cornfield area.
Right.
And then we had our own team in a little village there, and we were just kicking everybody's butt, and the word got out, hey, this kid throws pretty good, he's left-handed. And so when I got to high school,
Right.
I made the varsity as a 9th grader. I threw harder than any guy that was there.
In 9th grade, you were.
Yeah, so, I mean, I was on the varsity in 9th grade in baseball, and I was on the varsity basketball as a 10th grader in basketball. Football, I didn't care. I went out and played because my buddies did. I threw one touchdown pass as a junior. I never even saw it. I was going flat on my back. I get killed, But I worked in the summer because I helped my grandfather deliver milk, and I worked on the farm. And I told the head football coach, I can't come to August practice. And so, well, you're not going to play
Yep.
varsity. I said, great. And
That's
then
his
the,
loss.
the head baseball coach was the JV coach. So he said, come down and play with me. And one day, I call, he goes, now don't let, you're going to be a punt returner. Don't let them tackle you. All right, so I get up to about the 40, man. I'm at the 45, and here comes the guy. I go, whoop. I was a whoop, whoop, whoop. Got tackled on the 5-yard line. And he goes, what I meant was, get up far up the field you can before they tackle you. So, you know, 10th grade,
Yeah.
we win the league. 11th grade, we win the league. And when I was a senior, we had a sophomore. His name's Jim Geddes,
Okay.
Geddes. And Jimmy
Oh,
played
yeah.
for the White Sox.
yeah.
And so we had
Yeah.
a pretty good tandem, but we had no hitters. And we had good arms. We had some guys that could pitch. And so as a senior, sophomore, he and I sort of, you know, and I tell kids now, like, oh, man, you know, I live in this little town, and nobody will ever see me, and then I should be going to the big Catholic school, or I should be going to the big public school that has
Right.
great baseball. I said, let me tell you something. They found me in 66,
Yeah.
it was 64 was my senior year. They found me in Harrisburg, 400 people. I think they'll find you.
Yeah.
They're going to find you.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so the college-wise things, like Larry, you know, they don't have the budget to recruit. And they just go on, like you saw, hearsay, and hey, there's a guy down there, Sorensen, and he's pretty good. He's running a pitcher, and he's getting everybody out. You know, this Warden kid, and I knew the scouts were. See, the draft didn't start till '65.
Right.
So people were going, "How come you didn't get drafted?" So they didn't have one.
You're dating yourself.
Yeah,
a
I
little
mean,
bit,
you know,
too.
he had a kid. I look a lot younger, but so you know, I said, well, it's funny. This guy from the Cubs, John Strezza, big guy, and he said, you know, he's out of the house, and there's my mom and I. We don't know anything, you know, about contracts or everything. And he said, if you go to college, he said, I bet you could get some money, a nice bonus, and if you could just go to school.
Really?
And so, and I wanted to go to Ohio State, but my grades weren't that good, and they were a little skeptical. And I just missed going to Ohio University, where Mike Schmidt went, and Terry Harmon, and Larry Thomas, and Bob Brennan was the head coach down there, and he was acting. And it was between me and another guy, both left-handed pitchers, and he sort of made a verbal commitment to this kid. We both pitched in the state all-star game.
Right.
Seniors, you know, and Danny Abramowitz pitched in it.
Sure.
Wanted to play for the Saints. He's from Youngstown, and he pitched in it, and so, you know, came down. He called me and said I had to go with this other kid. I went, ah, man. And so, when I was on the farm, the guy was our vet that took care of our animals. He got a teaching job in veterinary medicine at the University of Georgia. So he goes, hey, John. He calls me, and he had 2 kids. They didn't know a baseball from a cantaloupe, you know, and he goes, where are you going to go to school? I said, I don't know, you know, there's a lot of small schools, D3. He goes, come down and stay with me for a weekend. So I get on a bus and ride to Athens, Georgia.
Really?
I go down there, and I went, whoa, man, just building a new basketball arena. The baseball facility was so-so,
Right.
but the weather was great, and the girls, boy, they were cute.
They were Southern.
Yeah, them Southern Bells. Hey, y'all, how you doing? I'm done better now. And so I called my mom and I said, well, you better call AAA and find out how to get here because I'm going to school down here. So they gave me a split scholarship, basketball, baseball. And back then, date myself, freshmen couldn't play varsity.
Yeah.
In the NCAA. They about 4 years, 5 years later, about 72 or 3.
Sure.
Then they said this is stupid, and it was. You know,
Yeah.
they let the freshman kids play.
Really.
So I played 1 year, and back then, if you were out of school 90 days, you're eligible for the draft. So they used to have a supplemental draft in January.
Okay.
So I dropped out. I mean, Pittsburgh's calling every day. I thought, well, nobody's going to draft me but Pittsburgh. You know, I mean, Philadelphia, Tony
Okay.
Lucadella, famous scout.
Oh, I know Tony.
You know, Tony was an awesome guy, and they were all out the house. And so I'm at a dance on January 29th at the supplemental draft in January, and I get a telegram. My mom, telegram, you got to go a mile up my driveway. I can just see this guy. Where in the world is this? You know, I get a telegram from Ed Catalinus, the farm director,
Yeah.
and it said, congratulations, you've just been drafted in the 4th round by the Detroit Tigers. And it's almost, I went, Detroit Tigers? They even had a team? You know, I never followed them. You know, I was a high boy. I rooted for the Indians and the Reds, you know.
Right.
And I'm like, holy cow, I got drafted. And so I decided to sign. And
So you did sign.
so I signed.
So you went to college
big
in
money.
Georgia.
Well, bigger than I got, bigger than that $1,000 John Strezza would have given me for the cup.
So when you went to college, it was down in Georgia.
Yeah,
Did you ever go to any other college, or just down there in Georgia?
not yet.
Okay, that's what I'm,
So I signed in '66.
okay.
They sent me to spring training in February. Denny Galehouse pitched for the Red Sox.
Oh, man. Pitching the World Series.
Yeah,
back,
played
for
with
the
Ted
Browns.
Williams.
Yeah.
Oh, man, what, he's I mean, what
I
a
got
guy.
to meet him when Larry was in the bigs.
Yeah.
Denny was still scouting. So when you guys would go out and it'd be third, fourth inning, then I'm okay. So I'd go up to the scouting section and
Oh,
I
man.
just, all I'd do would be sit and just
Listen,
listen to those
Denny-
guys talk.
Denny Galehouse was like having your grandfather come over and sign you.
Nice.
He said, John, here's what we're gonna do. The Tigers are offering, willing to offer you, like $5,000 and everything. My mom's sitting there, and I said, well, I want 20, or I want 25. I said, and he goes, well, I'll have to get back to you because I don't have the authority. They've told me, the 5, and I probably won't budge a lot. I said, okay. So he comes back, and they came up to 10, and I went down to 20, and we settled on 15,000.
Really?
So that's 66.
That's a lot of money.
That's good money back then.
Yeah,
That's
that's
big
no
money.
joke.
So my mom goes, no, wait a minute, what happens, how do you get the 15,000? Because, every mother wants her son to stay in college. I said, well, Mom, if I just go Jon Warden, then I got 15,000. She went, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, because she goes, I made $8,500 last year, all year, working my rear end off. So I signed, went spring training, in '66.